Hello, welcome to Politics 11, Season 2, Episode 8. It's the same cast as usual. We haven't got any additional cast members yet. But that's basically because I don't want there to be a spin-off like Joey that might sully the reputation of the original.
I think we should do though. I think we should have a mid-season break. Like a big finale episode where something crazy happens, and then like make our zero viewers wait like a whole 2 weeks before revealing that actually nothing really happened and we're just fine.
Also, waiting 2 weeks is what's known as a standard 1 week break between episodes. Like that's just what happens. But anyway, let's crack on with the show. Without having to Google what a Jew means, because I haven't got a clue. Everyone's like, oh, no further ado. It's like,
no, it's no further ado.
Yeah.
As in like do about nothing, not adieu, like.
Because a Jew is either the sort of wet stuff on the ground, or like a member, someone who is Jewish. So I mean, those are the two things really. But anyway, politics.
Hi guys, all of our viewers now are just going, oh no, Blakey, no.
What did you think I was going to say something risky about about a Jew? It's a risky topic area. We'll stray away from it.
Should we move on quickly? Let's move on. Move on.
Right. Anyway, it's come out today that the Parliament. Oh, nightmare! Higgins is gone. Oh, he's back. Right, so Higgins has been replaced by Minnie Mouse. Are you alright, mate? You've just been replaced by a helium-filled Minnie Mouse. How strange. Oh, well, it's been recorded. It's going out live. Oh, guess we can only wait. I can sort of see you, but... Let's give him a ring. Yeah, I mean, it sounds like you're trolling us because you've got the highest, like, Minnie Mouse style voice. Say something, listen back to how you sound. Yeah, could you hear that high-pitched whine? Right. No worries. Right, can you still hear me? Right, I can't... Oh, jeez.
You got me back?
Yes, I can hear you, and you don't sound like a helium-filled balloon animal monster. Right, so
Yeah.
where were we? Parliament.
Yes.
Basically, Parliament needs to be fixed up, and it's going to cost quite a lot of money. The full restoration plan could cost 5.7 billion, which is a lot of money. Um,
Well, that's if they don't move the MPs out. If they move the MPs out, it comes down to 3.5 billion.
well, yeah,
And then if they add like a visitor centre, it's 3.9 billion. So
yeah. The 3.5 billion option would put a lift in the Elizabeth Tower, which was
yeah,
obviously formerly known as Big Ben and still is, but that was never its actual name because its actual name was that other name, which I've forgotten.
Elizabeth Tower.
Yeah, it's officially called that now, but previously it was called something else.
I don't know, but
Well, it's
Big
called the
Ben's
Elizabeth.
is
Yeah,
in it.
it's called the Elizabeth Tower now. Big Ben is, of course, the large bell.
Yeah.
But yeah, they could put a media centre for TV interviews for the 3.5 billion option, which would be pointless if the MPs don't work there. Like they film it in the main area anyway, just in the sort of reception, and then I mean
Yeah, but you know what I really want? I was thinking about this earlier on. I really want, you know how after a football match, players and the managers are interviewed like right next in those rooms with the placards with the sponsors on them. I think
yeah,
like Tory should be should be stood there with like all of the people who've donated to their party, like all the like EDF Energy and people like that who've donated all the fat cats who've donated to the Tory party, and then Labour Party ministers should be stood in front of like the Unite unions and all the unions and people who've donated to the party. I think that should be absolutely spot on. I think you should absolutely have it where they're interviewed, like kind of. So, do you think the outcome was what you wanted from this debate? Well, not quite. I was looking for a slightly better outcome. So, what did you think of your tactics? I mean, were your tactics good? Did you have a strong base of support? Do you feel that when you played the long ball over the top with your question regarding tuition fees, did you think that was going to work out at the death? Did you think that was going to be your Hail Mary pass? And then I was going, well, it was the right thing to do at the time, I felt. But yeah, I absolutely think that an interview centre, a media centre, like with those sorts of interviews, forced upon MPs would be the greatest thing ever invented. It would be amazing.
you're a
Jonathan
genius.
Pierce.
You're an absolute genius. I was going to make jokes about this. There is no point. You've just won. Right, let's move on. That's Parliament sorted. Oh, brilliant.
I
Yeah,
just love the idea of
sorry.
anyone interviewed in that way. I think that, and to interview MPs in that way would just be the greatest thing democracy has ever faced. It's such a good idea. I feel that the BBC and ITV and Sky should start looking at this idea with very serious ideas. I think that's yeah.
You're a genius. I'm just going to leave it there. So yeah, that's Parliament covered. The other topics that we can talk about. There seems to be a lot of calls for the voting age to be lowered to 16 on the EU referendum.
Yeah.
I honestly don't know what to think because a lot of it. This was raised on Question Time last week. Is because in the Scottish referendum you could vote at 16, and I get the impression you can vote at 16 in the Scottish elections, all that kind of thing, like trying to get more people involved in democracy. But everyone always pretends they care about getting young people involved in democracy. Like they evidently don't. They just have to pretend that they do. Maybe the SNP actually does. Maybe that's why they did so well. They actually care. I'm not sure, but they just.
Yeah.
It's 18. It's been 18 for a long time. Just like I mean, I would say if it ain't broke, don't fix it. Obviously, the entire system is completely broken, but I don't think that's a fix. I don't know if the phrase "if it is broken, don't not fix it" is really a phrase, but I think it's applicable in this situation. I ultimately I don't actually care either way. Um,
You know what it is. There's a certain apathy towards the thought of the voting age being lowered, for the simple reason that both you and I are over the current voting age. So actually, we don't care whether people under the age of 18, between the age of 16 and 18, are able to vote. I mean, for example, I was able to vote for the first time when I turned 18, simply because I turned 18 the day before the election. Not the election in 2010, but I turned 18 before my local election back in 2008. So I was able to send a postal vote from where I was at school to vote because I actually happened to turn 18 the next day. I don't think 2 years earlier would have made a blind bit of difference for me. I think that when you turn 18, you're able to vote. I think that's great. But I just don't understand why people feel the necessity to bring it down, to bring the voting age down. I mean, I tell you what, the only reason that you would bring the voting age down is to be more assured of the outcome that you wanted. Like, for example, if you were polling sort of in the 18 to 24 gap, you were polling sort of around about 50-55% of the outcome that you wanted from the referendum, and you then brought the next 2 years below into it, and you were looking at sort of 65-70%. That's the only reason you bring in the 2 years below that, is to get the outcome. This is what politicians do. They don't care about the younger voters. As long as it gives them the outcome they want or they desire, they'll include as many people as they want.
well, it's true. I mean, that's why. I mean, sort of the concept of like the grey pound, obviously, like the grey vote, i.e., older people are more likely to vote. That's why policies tend to be favourable for older people, like sort of state pension that being prioritised over dole money and things like that. But I honestly don't know if I only don't care because I'm over 18. I'm sure I remember discussing this in PSHE when we were sort of younger, and I seem to remember that back then I sort of didn't care. Also, like my opinions from when I was 17 to now, in the last 6 years, have completely changed. Like I would have been voting for the wrong team basically back then, but like it just, I mean. The argument I heard that I loved was, well, some people saying, well, you can join the army at 16 and get married, and the other person turned around and said, well, yes, but that's only with your parents' consent, and we can't have people needing their parents' consent to vote, which is complete. It doesn't actually, like, it's not even an argument in terms of the voting age. Like, it's totally pointless an argument, but it is quite pithy. So I did like it, but I'm honestly, I mean, I can see why it's a bit of a mess if you're in Scotland, because you can vote in half your elections and you can't vote in the other ones. I mean, I think, because also there's been the other side of the other part of the argument for the EU referendum is the one about you having to have a British passport in order to vote, which one of the SNP MPs doesn't have. There's an SNP MP who is a foreign national. I don't know who it is. I should have googled this.
Do you know which passport he does hold? Because that'd be interesting. Does he hold a French passport?
I don't know. I honestly don't know.
A French passport or like an American passport? Because
I'm
if
sure
it was an American passport, it probably wouldn't matter. But it was a French passport, then it makes all the difference, because obviously their vote is going to be swayed towards sort of voting for the EU.
Well, the SNP is pro-Europe anyway, but I think the person is a European national. And then the counter argument of, well, why don't you have, if you're going to be an MP, surely you should just get a British passport and then you can vote. I mean, I wouldn't imagine that person's going to have their passport application held up, and it's not going to take the usual 8 weeks. I imagine they can make some calls and have it delivered that afternoon, fresh off a printing press. But equally, I don't know if you should actually. Technically, you don't need to do that right now. So it is an interesting one. Personally, I think it's just jealousy, because the Scottish National Party didn't demand you had to be born in Scotland to vote in the election. Because obviously, there's people who were born in Scotland who live in England who couldn't vote, and there's plenty of EU nationals living in Scotland who could. Basically, I think they're just upset that they got to clangor on the independence referendum. So now that Now that sort of UKIP have come with an arguably good policy from a leaving Europe perspective, the SNP are just kicking themselves that they didn't think of it first. It's just jealousy. It's spiteful jealousy.
No, I think you're right. You're absolutely right on that one. It's I think yeah, no, you're right. I think the SNP, as you say, got the raw end of the stick with, or wrong end of the stick with regards to their independence referendum. But I think the going back to the voting age, I feel that I don't feel strongly about it. I couldn't care less. If the government wants them to vote, wants the younger people to vote, then great. I think it does get more people into voting, more people into politics, and there does tend to be a higher turnout of the lower ages. But they'll only do it if they get the votes they want, rather than getting the outcome. The desired outcome is that more people get into voting, more young people get into voting. The desired outcome is that they get what they want.
From a cynical perspective, you would assume that the Tories would definitely be against it. UKIP would probably be against it because they tend to poll very badly in younger age groups. The Lib Dems, the Green Party, would be massively in favour of it, as would the SNP and presumably Plaid, and Labour would be roughly in favour of it, but not entirely sure.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, those are stereotypical views, but I'm sure if we were good at in this podcast, we could find statistics to back up those factual arguments.
No, there's no point in finding statistics. We place our faith in conjecture, and that's what we've always done, and we'll always continue to do. It works well.
I'm gearing myself up to be a Republican senator, so I can't start letting facts change my opinion. It's all about what I think is right.
I'll tell you what, talking about Republican senators, and I know this is going a little bit off topic. I don't know whether you wanted to talk about the US presidential race at all.
Well, I think we should, because after this current topic we're on, the voting, the 16 and the EU referendum, I'm fresh out of topics, and we're going to have to go to celebrity gossip. So a little bit of US election coverage. Election coverage from us. What am I saying? Election chat. Yeah, we're covering the US election here on Politics. But yeah, let's go for it.
Yeah, it's not quite US politics per se. It's to do with the fact that the Pope recently sent out his encyclical that he does on an annual basis. I think it's every year or every 2 years. I can't remember exactly what it is, but it's all about climate change and how he feels that that governments and world leaders need to work together to stop the flow of apathy towards climate change. Because realistically, I get in my car, I drive to work, I drive back from work. The harm that's doing to the environment makes no difference to me. But the Pope's come out and said it should make a difference. And in all fairness, I think he's right. It should make a difference. But what I found interesting is the fact that it got leaked before the details of the letter got leaked before it was made public. And what I found most interesting was that a couple of the people who want to become the next U.S. president, a couple of Republican presidential hopefuls, have weighed in with their, if I'm being brutally honest, moronic arguments, because they're Republicans. I've never understood the Republican movement in the US. I don't understand how so many people could be so stupid. I know a lot of people will thoroughly disagree with me on that point, but I just don't understand it. I don't get it. But what a couple of the Republican candidates have done, Jeb Bush has said that bishops don't make my political or my economic faith, so don't do that for me. So why should they do? Why should they make my manifesto, whatever it is, or policies? Policies, that's it. Don't make my economic or policies. So why should they make my climate change policies? And that's a good point. Fair enough. But he's not making policy. He's suggesting that it's probably a good idea if people cared more about it. And the same with the other one, the one with the funny name. They've all got funny names, if I'm being honest. They're all stupid. Paul? No, it's not that one. Is it Rand Paul?
Rand Paul is my favourite. He's backtracked on everything he said a while ago, but for a while he looked like a genuinely good guy, because he's he's a libertarian, whereas most of them are authoritarians. But he's totally rescinded on that now because obviously he wants to get the nomination. But this was Rand Paul was a man who said, I think the drugs war has been a failure and it's become racially charged. Like, I would vote for the man if I could, based on that alone. If the US was going to end the drugs war, I mean, it'd be good news for Mexican journalists. If anyone doesn't understand that joke, Google it. It's pretty horrific stuff. But yeah, that he's sort of rescinded on all that now, which is just a shame because he genuinely looked like a shining light.
Yeah. Well, no, there was. I mean, yeah, Rand Paul's probably the most normal person out of the bunch. But someone else said, someone else came out and said the Pope shouldn't be wading on these issues. It's wrong for a religious leader to weigh in on global politics. And now, forgive me for being, intelligent, but I don't feel that he's weighed in on global politics. He's made a suggestion. And I think it's probably one that people should actually think about seriously, because actually, this Pope's pretty cool. Let's be honest. He's revolutionised the Catholic Church. He's made it a better image, produced a better image for the Catholic Church globally. And considering the two people who were the two candidates who spoke up against what the Pope was saying are both Roman Catholic themselves, I think it's quite a shock to think that actually I don't think they're saying it off their own backs. I think they're being told that that's what the conservatives in the US want to hear, and so therefore that's what they're being told to say. And I think that in itself is something fundamentally wrong with the US political system. I don't think democracy is helped by people on the sidelines telling the people who want to get votes what to say. I think, if anything, you should be voting on what they genuinely believe, rather than, if, for example, Rand Paul, he wants to get the nomination to become Republican candidate for the next presidential election. And I think, if he was to get the candidacy, I think you'd see more of his libertarian views come out, because then he's looking for the general vote rather than just the nutcases in the Republican Party. He's looking for the swing voters. He's not just pandering to the Republican Party. I think that's probably the right way to go. The problem is that if he came out with more of his libertarian views, he could lose some of the more core Republican Party support, and they may just spoil their ballots and not bother turning up and be fairly apathetic towards the voting process. But I think, I just don't understand why they felt the necessity to come out and say something, is my view. But that's because they're Republicans. They've got to have a view on everything. They're stupid.
And it's interesting because the actual statement made, I don't think religious leaders should weigh in on political policy. As a statement, I 100% agree with that. What's interesting is where it's come from, which is arguably a side of the debate that's normally, for lack of a better word, thumping its Bible. Now, I'm not suggesting that that's not the phrase you would use to describe Catholics in particular, but there is undoubtedly a strong religious element within the Republican Party. There's also strong religious elements within the Democratic Party in the US. That's more byproduct of the US than its political system. But I think most people would suggest there is a bias towards strong religious people being on the Republican team. So, I mean, there are people. I don't know the names, but there are people who, like senators, who have said global warming is a myth because in the Bible it says God won't flood the earth again. So therefore, sea level rise is a hoax because God's not going to flood the earth again. I'm not saying I agree with that statement, but if that's an argument your team has been using for a while, to then come out and say, oh, religion has no place in politics, which I would agree with, is that there's no consistency amongst themselves, which I guess makes them the ultimate politicians if it's going to pick and choose what they want.
They pick and choose as to what the voters want. That's the main thing. If the voters are happy with them, then they're happy to sort of go along with what the voters want. I don't necessarily feel that it's right for I don't feel it's right. I think it's wrong for US politicians to pander to their core voters. I think if you want to be elected, I think you should always stick to your guns. I think you should always have your own views. And if you don't get elected, you don't get elected. That's because the other guy stuck to his views more. You know, I don't think you should be kowtowing to a group of, quite frankly, racist nutcases.
Sounds like you're not going to win many elections, mate. I agree with your saying about. I agree with your saying about.
States.
Your comments about Rand Paul, though, like, I think it's true. If you became the Republican nominee, you could then start spewing more libertarian. I said spewing more libertarian views, spewing this libertarian nonsense, like saying what if you are the Republican.
Libertarianism, way.
If you become the official nominee, you can then try and win the centre votes in the last, I say, week of voting campaign. Obviously, it's US election, so in the last, in that final 9 months, that tight 9 months of campaigning. But I think it's true. Like, if you try to win the Republican nominee on a libertarian platform, you would. I mean, look, let's be honest. He's a libertarian. Republican nominee thing is wide open. Jeb Bush is looking like a serious candidate. Ted Cruz is looking like a serious candidate. So, I mean, based on numbers alone, if there's 1 libertarian and 8 authoritarians, like, that's maybe a bit harsh word to say, but non-libertarians, then statistically you're unlikely to win with libertarian views just because it's a 1 in 8 chance. Like, that's just, I know it's not exactly how statistics works, but I agree with you. If you got the nominee, then you could probably try and then move more towards the centre ground, because Hillary Clinton is almost certainly going to be the Democratic nominee. A lot of people are suggesting that might make it easier for her to walk it because people will be like, yeah, we need a female leader, which if people want to vote for that, it's not the worst thing to vote for in the world, like trying to, you know, practice what you preach. We need more women in positions of power. You're going to vote for one? Oh, no. Like, if people are going to practice what they preach, then fair enough. But I think it might be more divisive than people think, just because Bill Clinton, although he was in theory the US's most successful president for a while because he ran a budget surplus, like he's a bit of a PR nightmare, really, isn't he, old Mr. Clinton? He's got up to a few things in the media over his time. So I mean, I've imagined Hillary will win, but I think if Hillary's running for the Democratic as the Democratic candidate, I imagine if you are hardcore Republican, not quite Tea Party, because they sometimes have their own candidate, but if you're a fundamentalist Republican, even if you don't really like Rand Paul's views on certain things, you'll probably vote for him just because you'll be sort of terrified of Hillary. So I think I don't think he'll win. I think Jeb Bush will probably get it, based on absolutely no empirical evidence whatsoever. Just because he's got a successful family, you know?
Yeah.
Which family has had the most US presidents? Oh, that'd be the Bushes, who are still alive. So.
Yes, true. Yeah, fair enough. But then, no, technically, if Hillary Clinton were to win, then out of living presidents, the Clintons and the Bushes would then have the 50-50 split, wouldn't they? Really, because they each have 2 each.
That's true, but at the moment it's 2-1, so it's not even going to have to go to penalties. It's a Bush family victory. So.
But no, I also love the fact that Donald Trump's thrown his hat into the ring, and quite frankly, I've never seen anyone humanize, not humanize. What's the right word? What's it when you take something and you make it into human form?
Anthropomorphize is the word you're looking for.
No, it's not. Stop trying to use long words, Blakey. You can't use them.
Anthropomorphic is the word you use to describe like a cartoon turtle that talks, because it has human qualities.
No. What I mean is something else. It's he's basically there we go. He's the personification of the Republican Party, of the civilian, what you could call like non-political Republican Party. He's someone who just sits back and says all kinds of rubbish because he knows he's got a lot of money and knows he controls the media. And the fact is that is something that's very dangerous, because he could very well win the Republican Party nomination and spend the 9 months in the run-up to the actual election literally just spending every minute of every hour on the airwaves. He could buy every single advertising space on the airwaves for 9 months. And that scares the living shit out of me. I'm sorry for swearing. I know we're trying to keep this clean, but it scares me so much because he is a complete nutter. He is literally the worst person possible to run a country. I just don't understand why anyone would vote for him. But of course, because he's got the money, he's just going to throw. Everybody watches TV in the US. There's nothing better to do. Because there's no activities or sport or anything over there. You just see them. You know, he will literally just throw Republican. And the fact is, he'll go to Fox News and say, you know, look, I want to pay you £30,000 for this, you know, for $30,000 for this advertising space, and Fox News will just go, nah, have it for free, Donald. We want you to win because, quite frankly, it'd be hilarious if you won, and we love the Republican Party. Why? Why would someone vote for someone like Donald Trump? Yeah.
You see, I'm gonna have to. Can you put some headphones? In?
Sorry, why?
I'm getting massive feedback.
I don't have any on me.
Oh no, it's stopped now. That's fine. See, I disagree with you. I think he's an absolute genius, and here's why. In last US election, thanks to Citizens United versus America, where they won, money is now treated as. I'm getting heckled by my mum here. She's giving me a phone call. I'm just going to cancel that. Sorry, man. That's what it is. I sacked up my mum. That's recorded.
I turned my phone on silent.
I know. I'm going to have to edit that out. How do I turn my phone on silent? I'm such an old man. Right. Here's why he's a genius. In the last US election, thanks to Citizens United, the total amount of money spent on the election was something like $6 billion. It's about $3 billion per team, right? Donald Trump's net worth is about $4 billion, right? So
calculations, he's worth 8.
All right. Well, he could fund it himself. But here's the thing: if he spends, say, $400 million and secures the nomination, then what he can do after that is, once he's a Republican nomination, all that money will be spent on promoting him for the election, and he'll be like, I'm Donald Trump of Trump Industries. So basically, he's going to get about $3 billion worth of advertising for his company for a relatively small investment. Like, the man, he's playing the long game. He's a genius. I mean, obviously, he's made a fair bit of money. You see what I'm getting at? He's thinking about this. He doesn't
actually want to be in the White House. He just wants free advertising, essentially.
Yeah, he just wants to double as well. He doesn't care about the election. He's just like, oh yeah, Donald Trump. Yeah, everyone remember that name, Donald Trump.
Yeah, yeah.
He'll come onto the debate wearing a T-shirt with like, want to go to Spain on holiday for like $300. I don't know if he does travel, but like, he's so.
If you want a new house built in your area, call this number.
Exactly, and he'll just be scrolling along the bottom of the screen. Like, if he's really smart.
Investing in Trump Industries, you know, we should have like tickers on the bottom of our screen just saying, you know, other Republican candidates are available or something like that.
Yeah, see, so I think he's a genius. The thing that made me laugh is apparently at his. I was about to say coming out party, but his announcement party that he was going to do it, apparently some of the people in the audience were actors who got paid $50, so he couldn't even fill a room with people who like him. But that's the thing, he must be the richest candidate, because obviously a lot of them are extremely wealthy, but I don't think any of the others are billionaires. Because, like, let's be honest, even if your net worth is $500 million, that's a staggering amount of money. Like, to actually spend all of that before you die, assuming you died at 90 and you're currently age 40, you've got to spend thousands every day.
Yeah.
But if your net worth is $8 billion, I thought it was only 4, but let's say it's $8 billion, then that's like the difference between someone who lives in a normal house in, I don't know, Northampton, and someone who lives in the same size house very near the centre of London. That's the percentage increase we're looking at. That's 16 times the wealth. Like,
yeah.
If someone said to me, do you want to increase your wealth by 16 times, I'd be provisionally interested. I mean, if it came from an email, I'd be a bit suspicious. But I'm sure I'd send them my details anyway because I'm such a trusting man. But but yeah, so I mean that's elections covered. We should talk about Top Gear briefly because I know you've got to get off. So we'll try and wrap this up by 8:30. Obviously we did have a little. I'll take this video down and edit it because there's a load of mumbling at the start. And then I'll send you the clip of you sounding like Minnie Mouse because it's hilarious. That might be my new text alert.
That can go on our bloopers.
Yeah, Politics extra.
Too hot for TV. Or too hot for you. I don't know. But no, I think you're right. Chris Evans, Top Gear host, fantastic. I actually have very little faith that he's going to do a good job. I actually can't stand the man, but it'd be interesting to watch him try and take Top Gear. What I am interested in is a female host. I think that's a good thing. Personally, I think Jodie Kidd should do it because she's better looking than Susie Perry, and I think she probably knows a little bit more about.
Whoa!
Let me finish. Yeah, you can have your objections in a bit. Let me finish. And I'm interested because B, auditions. There will be a website tomorrow for you to send in your Top Gear auditions to be the 3rd member of Top Gear.
That is important information. I need to do that because I applied for the Kiss FM extra radio DJ presenter. It's got absolutely sacked. I was working on the day, so I couldn't go see him in person. Sent in a video, actually chinned off. But I mean, now I've got months of podcasting experience. Here's what I was going to say about Chris Evans. One, he's obviously into cars because it was his Ferrari that James May drove around Windsor. They've been to his house a couple of times. He's got quite a nice house. He's got a few motors in the garage. So he obviously cares about cars, and he had a bit of trouble previously in his career, but most people generally like him. He's a Radio 2 breakfast host, isn't he? So so he's. I mean, that's the biggest radio show on UK airways because Radio 2 has more listeners than Radio 1. And also, Grimmy's
almost got twice the number of listeners thanks to Nick Grimshaw. He seems to have got the ball on that one. But I as I said, personally, I can't stand the man, but I'm sure he'll make a great Top Gear host. I'll be interested to see what he does with it. And he's clearly into cars. The issue that I also have with him as Top Gear host is he is very Ferrari centric. He loves his Ferraris, and whilst Clarkson, May, and Hammond may not have had the most unbiased of opinions, it wasn't necessarily for example, if they made a not good Ferrari, then they said it. If they, for example, if Hammond, even though he loved Porsches, he didn't like the fact they took electric steering into Porsches, and that killed the feel of the car, and that was the whole point of Porsche purists, is the feel of the car. The steering was all mechanical, not electric, and it killed the car. So, and he was quite open and honest and said that. So that's what I'm slightly wary of with Chris Evans, is that if they make a Duff Ferrari, which at the moment they're not doing. Don't get me wrong, I think all the Ferraris they're making at the moment are beautiful, and I think they're absolutely stunning cars to make. To drive, but if they make a Duff one, then I don't think he's going to be particularly unbiased about his opinion towards it, and that's kind of the problem. No,
but the thing is, whoever hosts Top Gear has got a very challenging job because even if they're making quality TV, people are always going to say it's good.
Yeah.
And even in 5 seasons' time, it ends up being just as good as it is now. Those interim 5 seasons, people do nothing but win.
Yeah.
Now,
I think you're right.
Here's why Chris Evans has been a genius. Oh, I've got the feedback again.
Oh, that's not me. I've turned the volume right down on my thing.
How very strange. Oh, it's gone. No, it hasn't. Oh. Right, I have to take this off so I can do it properly.
Hang on, I've got an idea. Hold on a second. How's that?
No, I can still hear it. Right, never mind. But anyway, Chris Evans was announced as a presenter, and he immediately came out and said, Top Gear needs a female host. Now, ultimately, for the initial season, it doesn't matter if they have a female presenter or not, because everyone's going to slag it off regardless. It does.
Yeah.
They could have that Pope who resigns, the artist formerly known as Pope, on the show, and Catholics would be whinging, saying, "Oh, it's not as good as Hammond, May, and Clarkson." Right? But here's the thing. Top Gear with Hammond, May and Clarkson came about before Twitter. So back when people would complain about stuff, but you couldn't complain as en masse and as instantly as you can now. So if they don't get a female presenter, which they probably will, but if they don't, and then everyone goes, "Oh, this is outrageous. The BBC's full of sexist men, probably white." And blah 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 blah. Chris Evans can come out and say, "Oh well, I said this. You know, the first thing I said when I came out as Top Gear presenter was we need a female on the show." So Chris Evans, even if he doesn't actually agree with what he said, even if he's doing it cynically, which I don't think he is, and I don't think anyone would, but even if he is, he's played a genius game, because he is now not exempt from criticism, but as close to being exempt from criticism as you can be if they don't employ a female. Because whatever happens, people are still going to slag it off. If they get a female, people say, "Oh, it was better with 3 blokes." Sometimes feminists just need to let there be an all-male show. Because I mean, there's Loose Women, which is all females, and if they don't, and people say, "Oh, this is sexist," he can say, "Oh, well, blah 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 blah." So I think he's played a very smart move there, Chris Evans. I'm not assuming he's doing it cynically. I imagine he's doing it genuinely. Personally, they should
I think you're right. I think
get Sabine Schmidt on, because she's been on UK Top Gear loads and she's brilliant.
Oh no, I think you're right. Yeah, but it's a German Top Gear that she's doing at the moment, isn't it? So, but yeah, I think you're right. I think, well, you know, I think you're also right on Chris Evans. I think, as you say, he's being a genius. And I'm yet to pass judgment on him as Top Gear host. So I think it'd be interesting to see what direction they take the show in. So yeah, good luck, really. And of course, I'll be applying for the 3rd Top Gear role. I'm sure you will be as well.
Yeah, and if you get it, can I get a job as your assistant/PA, so I can basically just do minimal work and travel around the world?
Get paid for on the BBC. Yeah, absolutely. Of course you can. That's not a problem.
No, because you'll be an independent contractor as the talent, and then I'll be working for Higgins Industries Incorporated PLC Inc. But yeah,
sounds about right. Yeah.
The only
limited.
Oh yeah, limited. My biggest downside to Chris Evans being employed as the Top Gear host is I knew he was front runner and the bookie's favourite. I wanted it to be Steve Coogan.
He could still be the 3rd member.
He could. Oh yeah. Well, if he beats us two to being the 3rd member, then down with Coogan. You know.
Yeah, absolutely. No. I think you're right. Yeah. Down. Yeah. But, you know, you can't really blame him for choosing Steve Coogan over us two. I mean, you know, we produce one of the most highly rated podcasts on the interweb. But
even I haven't 5-starred the videos. I should get on one of my other YouTube accounts and just 5-star them all. Or thumbs up. It's thumbs up now, isn't it? But anyway, we should probably end the show, because I know you've got to get on with stuff and I've got to pretend I have a fulfilling life. So that's been Poluhticks 11. Any closing thoughts?
No.
No. See you next week. Bye.
Bye.